Las Vegas, Nevada, International Hotel, March 15, 1969. The showroom is packed with 2,000 people who came to see Elvis Presley's triumphant return to live performance. After years of mediocre movies and artistic stagnation, Elvis has reclaimed his throne as the king of rock and roll. Tonight's show has been electric, powerful, proof that the real Elvis is back. Elvis finishes Suspicious Minds to thunderous applause. He's sweating, energized, completely in his element. The audience is on their feet, screaming his name. This is what he was born to do. But as Elvis acknowledges the ovation, something catches his eye. A figure walking through the back doors of the showroom. A man in dark sunglasses, moving with quiet confidence. A man Elvis recognizes immediately. Ray Charles, the genius. The man who taught the world that music has no color, no boundaries, no limits. Elvis stops mid-wave. The band notices his sudden stillness. The audience follows his gaze to see what has captured the king's attention. Ray Charles, guided by his aide, makes his way to a front table. The entire showroom falls silent. Not because anyone announced his presence, but because greatness recognizes greatness, and everyone in the room can feel the electricity of two legends in the same space. This is the story of what happened next. A musical encounter so legendary that those present would talk about it for the rest of their lives. This is creative storytelling inspired by the documented respect these two giants had for each other. Ray Charles wasn't supposed to be in Las Vegas that night. He was in town for recording sessions, but his producer had canceled at the last minute. Rather than fly back to Los Angeles, Ray decided to catch Elvis's show. "I want to hear what the boy's been up to," Ray tells his aide, Jeff Brown, as they drive to the International Hotel. "Been hearing he's found his voice again." Ray Charles and Elvis Presley had never performed together, but they knew of each other's work intimately. Both men were from the South. Both had learned music in churches. Both understood that the best music came from pain transformed into beauty. As Ray takes his seat, Elvis is still on stage, trying to process this unexpected honor. Ray Charles, the man who had influenced everyone from Aretha Franklin to Stevie Wonder, had come to see him perform. Elvis approaches the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, his voice carrying a reverence the audience has never heard before. "We have been joined tonight by true royalty. Mr. Ray Charles is in the house." The spotlight finds Ray, who raises his hand in acknowledgement. The applause is respectful, almost church-like. This isn't celebrity fanfare. This is recognition of a living legend. "Mr. Charles," Elvis continues, "it's an honor to have you here. Your music has touched every musician in this room, including me." Ray stands slowly. With the dignity of a man who has earned every accolade music can bestow. He makes his way toward the stage, guided by his aide, but moving with the confidence of someone who knows exactly where he belongs. Ray Charles climbs the steps to the stage. Elvis meets him halfway, offering his arm for support. When they shake hands, the audience erupts. Two kings of American music, face to face. "Elvis," Ray says, his voice carrying that familiar warmth and wisdom, "I've been listening to your music for a long time. You've got something special, son." "Mr. Charles, coming from you, that means everything." Ray nods, then does something completely unexpected. He asks, "Mind if I sit at your piano for a moment?" Elvis gestures toward the baby grand piano at the side of the stage. Ray makes his way over, running his hands along the keys to orient himself. The showroom is completely silent. Ray begins to play Georgia on My Mind, but not the version everyone knows. This is slower, more intimate, like he's playing for one person instead of 2,000. His voice, that incomparable instrument, fills the room with pure emotion. When he finishes, the silence lasts for 5 full seconds. Then the applause begins, building like thunder, until the entire room is on its feet. Ray turns toward Elvis. "Your turn, young man. But I want to hear something from your heart, not your hits. Show me who Elvis Presley really is when nobody's keeping score." It's a challenge, not aggressive, not competitive, but a master asking another artist to prove his worth on the deepest level. Elvis sits at the piano bench next to Ray Charles. Two legends, sharing the same instrument. Elvis places his hands on the keys and begins to play How Great Thou Art, but not the version from his records. This is the version he plays at 3 a.m. when he can't sleep, when he's questioning everything about his life and career. His voice cracks slightly on the first verse, not from technical failure but from emotion. He's singing to Ray Charles, to the audience, but mostly to himself. The gospel song becomes a confession, a prayer, a statement of who he really is beneath the leather and the fame. When Elvis reaches the chorus, something magical happens. Ray Charles begins to hum along. adding his voice in harmony. Two different styles, two different backgrounds, but the same spiritual foundation. The song builds as both men pour their souls into it. Ray adds piano flourishes that Elvis has never heard, and Elvis responds with vocal runs that surprise even himself. They're not competing, they're collaborating, creating something neither could produce alone. When the song ends, there isn't a dry eye in the showroom. These people came to see a Las Vegas show. What they witnessed was a religious experience. Ray Charles turns to Elvis with a smile. "Not bad, son, but now let's see what you really got." Ray's hands find the keys again, this time playing the opening notes to "I Got a Woman," but he stops after just a few bars. "Your version," Ray says. "Show me how the king of rock and roll handles the blues." This is the real challenge. Ray Charles is asking Elvis to take one of Ray's signature songs and make it his own, in front of 2,000 people, with the original artist sitting right next to him. Elvis grins. He's never backed down from a challenge, and he's not starting now. Elvis begins, "I Got a Woman," but he doesn't try to copy Ray's version. Instead, he strips it down, makes it more raw, more rock and roll. His voice growls and soars, finding places in the song that even Ray hadn't explored. Ray listens with his head tilted, the way he always does when he's really paying attention. Halfway through, he starts adding bass lines with his left hand, then chord progressions with his right. They're building something together, in real time, with no rehearsal and no plan. The audience realizes they're witnessing something historic. Phones don't exist yet, so there's no recording except in their memories. This moment belongs only to the people in this room. As the song reaches its climax, both men are fully engaged. Elvis is singing with more passion than he's shown in years, and Ray is playing with the joy of a man who's discovered a new musical friend. They finish together, hitting the final chord in perfect synchronization. The applause is deafening, but both men are too focused on each other to notice. "Damn, boy," Ray says, loud enough for the front rows to hear. "You really can play." "I learned from the best," Elvis replies. "Including you." Ray stands and embraces Elvis. It's not a show business hug, it's genuine recognition between two artists who understand what it means to pour your soul into music. "Tell you what," Ray says, "how about we try something neither of us has done before? You pick a song, any song, and we'll figure it out together, right here, right now." The audience can't believe what they're hearing. Two of music's greatest legends are about to improvise something completely original. Elvis thinks for a moment, then says, "What's the most beautiful song you know?" Not the most famous, not the biggest hit, the most beautiful. Ray considers this seriously. "There's an old spiritual my mama used to sing, 'Precious Lord, Take My Hand,' but it needs something more, something to make it new." "What if we combined it with 'Love Me Tender'?" Elvis suggests. Same feeling, different approach. Ray's face lights up. "Show me." What happens next has never been replicated. Elvis begins singing "Love Me Tender," but with the chord progression from "Precious Lord." Ray adds gospel piano underneath, finding spaces between Elvis's melody to insert his own vocal lines. They're creating a new song in front of a live audience using two existing pieces as building blocks. It's jazz methodology applied to gospel and country music. It shouldn't work, but it's transcendent. The audience has gone completely silent. They're witnessing the birth of something beautiful, and they know it. As the improvised song develops, both men become completely lost in the music. Elvis closes his eyes and sings like he's in church. Ray sways at the piano, his entire body moving with the rhythm. The lyrics they're singing are a combination of both songs, but also something entirely new. They're singing about love, about faith, about the power of music to connect souls across all boundaries. "Take my hand, precious Lord. Love me tender. Lead me on," Elvis sings. "When the night grows long and weary, love me true. I am weak, but thou art strong," Ray responds. They're having a musical conversation, using familiar melodies to express something neither could say in words alone. The hotel's sound engineer watching from the booth later said it was the most beautiful thing he'd heard in 20 years of recording live performances. When the improvised song finally ends, the silence stretches for nearly 10 seconds. It's not because the audience doesn't know how to react, it's because they don't want to break the spell. Finally, someone in the back starts to applaud. Then another person. Within seconds, all 2,000 people are on their feet, not just clapping, but cheering, crying, shouting. Some people are openly weeping. A woman in the front row shouts, "Do it again." But both Elvis and Ray know that what just happened can never be repeated. It was spontaneous, unrehearsable, perfect in its imperfection. Ray stands and takes Elvis's hand, raising it in the air like they've just won a championship together. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elvis announces, "Mr. Ray Charles, the genius, a true giant of American music." Ray takes the microphone. "And this young man," he says, "just proved that real talent recognizes real talent. Elvis Presley is the real deal, folks. Don't let anybody tell you different." After the show ends, Elvis invites Ray to his suite. They spend the next 3 hours playing piano together, sharing stories, and discovering how similar their musical journeys have been. "You know what surprised me?" Ray tells Elvis around 2 a.m. "How much gospel I heard in your voice tonight. Not the religious words, but the feeling, the reaching for something higher. That's where it all started for me," Elvis admits. "Church music. Everything else is just variations on that theme." Ray nods. "Same here. Different church, different tradition, but the same spirit. Music is prayer, Elvis. Whether it's Amazing Grace or Hound Dog, we're all trying to touch something divine." They talk about the pressures of fame, the isolation of success, the responsibility that comes with having a gift that can move people to tears. "You handled that challenge well tonight," Ray says. "But you know what impressed me most? You weren't trying to be me. You were trying to be the best version of yourself." "I learned that from watching you," Elvis replies. "You never tried to sound like anybody else. You found your own voice and trusted it." The next morning, news of the impromptu collaboration has spread throughout Las Vegas. Music industry executives are calling the hotel, trying to arrange for Elvis and Ray to record together officially. Both men decline. "What we did last night was special because it was unplanned," Ray explains to his manager. "The moment you put it in a recording studio, it becomes a product instead of an experience." Elvis agrees completely. Some things are meant to be memories, not merchandise. But the impact of that night continues to ripple through both their careers. Elvis begins incorporating more gospel and blues elements into his Vegas shows, inspired by Ray's fearless approach to blending genres. Ray, meanwhile, starts telling other musicians about Elvis's real talent, not the hip-shaking or the movie star looks, but his genuine musical ability. Over the next 8 years until Elvis's death in 1977, Ray Charles and Elvis Presley maintain a quiet friendship. They don't perform together again publicly, but they stay in touch through phone calls and occasional private visits. When Elvis is going through his divorce from Priscilla in 1973, he calls Ray for advice. "How do you keep your personal life separate from your public life?" Elvis asks. "You don't," Ray replies. "Your pain is part of your art. The trick is learning how to transform the hurt into something beautiful." That's what we did that night in Vegas. We took our individual struggles and made them into something bigger than either of us. When Ray Charles goes through his own personal struggles with drug addiction, Elvis is one of the few people who calls to offer support without judgment. "I know what it's like to need something to get through the day," Elvis tells him. "If you need to talk, call anytime." August 16, 1977. Elvis Presley dies at Graceland. Ray Charles is performing in Detroit when he gets the news. He stops his concert midway through and sits at the piano. "I just learned that we lost Elvis Presley today," Ray tells the audience. "I want to play something for him." Ray performs Precious Lord, Take My Hand combined with Love Me Tender, recreating as closely as possible the impromptu song they created together 8 years earlier. When he finishes, Ray says, "That young man had more talent in his little finger than most people have in their whole bodies. But more than that, he had heart. He understood that music isn't about showing off, it's about reaching people where they live." The Detroit audience gives Ray a standing ovation, not for his performance, but for his tribute to a fallen friend. In the decades following Elvis's death, Ray Charles often tells the story of their Vegas encounter. He describes it as one of the most pure musical experiences of his career. "Elvis gets remembered for a lot of things," Ray says in a 1995 interview. "The hip shaking, the Vegas years, the movies. But the people who were there that night in '69 remember something different. They remember a musician. A real musician who could take any song and make it his own." Musicians who hear Ray tell this story are amazed. Ray Charles, who worked with everyone from Nat King Cole to Willie Nelson, considers his impromptu collaboration with Elvis one of his career highlights. Young artists often ask Ray what they can learn from Elvis's approach that night. "Respect the music," Ray always answers. "Respect your influences, respect your audience, and respect yourself enough to be vulnerable." Elvis wasn't trying to prove he was better than me. He was trying to prove he deserved to be on the same stage. That's humility. That's professionalism. That's art. This story is creative fiction inspired by the documented mutual respect between Elvis Presley and Ray Charles. While they never performed together in the way described here, both men spoke positively about each other's talent in interviews throughout their careers. Ray Charles once said that Elvis brought something new to American music and praised his ability to blend different genres. Elvis, for his part, cited Ray Charles as one of his major influences, particularly in gospel and blues. The truth is that both men understood something that many artists struggle with. Real talent isn't about competition, it's about communication. Music is a language that transcends race, geography, and generation. When two masters of that language meet, magic can happen. Whether or not they ever shared a stage in the way described here, Elvis Presley and Ray Charles shared something more important, a deep understanding of music's power to heal, to unite, and to elevate the human spirit. Las Vegas, Nevada. International Hotel, March 15, 1969. In our imagined version of events, two legends met and created something beautiful together. In reality, both men continued their separate journeys, touching millions of lives through their music. But the spirit of that fictional encounter, two artists recognizing each other's gifts, pushing each other to be better, finding common ground in their shared love of music, that spirit is real. It's what happens every time musicians come together with open hearts and open minds. It's what happens when ego takes a backseat to artistry. It's what happens when competition becomes collaboration. Ray Charles and Elvis Presley may never have shared a piano bench, but they shared something more important, a commitment to musical excellence and emotional honesty. If this story inspired you, if it reminded you that great artists lift each other up instead of tearing each other down, I need you to do something right now. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because next week we're exploring another legendary musical encounter that changed everything. Drop a comment and tell me, what happens when two masters of their craft meet? Do they compete, or do they create something neither could achieve alone? Share this video with a musician, with someone who loves music, with anyone who believes that art can bridge any divide. Because here's the truth that this imagined encounter teaches us. The best art happens when talented people stop trying to prove they're better than everyone else and start trying to be worthy of the gift they've been given. Real recognizes real. Always has, always will. The music is bigger than any of us. But the stories are what keep the music alive. And the greatest story of all is what happens when legends become friends. Thank you for joining me on this journey through what might have been. I'll see you in the next one, where we'll explore another moment when music history could have been made. Remember, the stage is big enough for everyone. There's room for all the talent, all the creativity, all the magic that great artists can create together. Thanks for watching.